It's showdown time. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with another First Impressions Showdown. Our first of the year, in fact. And today we're going to be doing a kind of theme with it. These are all anime that debuted at the start of this year, the winter 2024 season. So we have Solo Leveling, we have Ishura, and we have Metallic Rouge. So, what do I know about these? So Solo Leveling is a series that has been hyped up for a while now. It did really well in the manga or whatever. And it became just this huge deal, this big iconic series that people were talking about. So when it was announced to have an anime adaptation, people were excited. And now it's finally out, and yeah, people are giving this series praise. I've seen a lot of good things. I don't know what the actual series is about, though. I don't know plot wise what the focus of the series is on. I don't know much of anything about it. I've wanted to remain as spoiler free as possible for when the anime did come out. The only thing I can think is based on the name, Solo Leveling. It kind of makes me think of like a video game, you know? Like leveling up your character and whatnot. I don't know if the connection is there at all. I don't know if that is actually like what it is referencing, but we will see. Now, Ashura doesn't really tell me anything. The title doesn't really tell me anything about this, or Ishura. Sorry, not Ashura, Ishura. It doesn't really tell me much of anything, and I don't really know anything either. All I know is I've heard people mention this series quite a bit. So this one I know even less about. But people have been definitely talking about it, and so I wanted to check it out. And our last series is Metallic Rouge. This is one that I heard about when I was like looking up what was coming out this season, and I forgot what it was about. See, this is one I actually was interested in because I had heard its plot, but since I originally heard it, I have forgotten it completely. So, yeah, based on the title, like there's not really much to go off of there. It doesn't really like give you any hints as to what this could be about. Metallic Rouge doesn't really say anything. The only thing I could think of is that it would have to do like with like technology, like the metallic part and everything just makes me instantly think of like high-tech machinery, robots, mech suits, stuff like that. I don't know what it's actually about though. I did at one point, I just don't remember. So I have no idea if I'm even close to being accurate there. But that's what it makes me automatically think of. But it's another one that I've heard people talk about, though that one, admittedly, the least so. I haven't heard as much about this one. And again, I've heard no spoilers with any of these. It's just been like people talking about like, oh, this is pretty good or whatnot. Stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm going into all of these pretty much completely blind. I only know like that Solo Leveling is popular. I don't really know anything about it though. So, I'm very interested to see what these are like though. And hopefully we end up enjoying them. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, if you're still a little confused, like what is a First Impressions Showdown? What this video is I will be reacting to the first episode of each of these three shows. Once again, that is Solo Leveling, Ishura, and Metallic Rouge. I'll be reacting to the first episode of each, and then I will be determining in the afterthoughts if I want to continue them on the channel. Either if I want to continue them on the channel as a reaction series, if I want to watch them on my own time, or if I'm just not interested in the series. This is just a way for me to kind of like check a series out before I start it, and for those kind of shows that I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to think of. So it gives me the chance to just go through and figure it out based on the first episode. And obviously, not all shows can be judged fairly by the first episode. But with a series that I'm not sure if I'm going to be interested in the first place I think this is the best kind of method we can take for this. So yeah, that's the simple gist of it. I'm going to be recording one after the other, but you're going to be able to see them in any order you want down in the description below. All of the links to each separate reaction will be there. And in this video, in this redirect, the afterthoughts will be one after the other. They'll be separated by chapters. You can go to the progress bar or the description below and like pick and choose whichever one you want to watch at any time. But they will all be here. And then there will be a final afterthoughts at the end, just giving my overall thoughts as we close this out. So I'm excited to see what these are like. Let's give this a chance and hopefully enjoy them. So that all being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get this going. When the screen fades to black, excuse me. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the first episodes of all 3 of these series. So, that being said, thank you so much once again for tuning in, and I will see you at the reactions. And we are back with the solo leveling portion of our afterthoughts, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, whenever a series comes out, whether it is in a manga, donghua, anime, whatever the case may be, and it gets like extremely popular, it just like blows up, there's always the question when I go into it, can it live up to that hype? Because a lot of the times, for me at least, it doesn't. It's really hard to live up to an excessive amount of hype like that for me, because I don't try to go into those kind of shows thinking that they're going to be like, you know, not living up to it, but my mind automatically kind of like goes like, oh, well, this can't possibly be as good as they're saying, right? So I go in with some doubts. But I've been proven wrong plenty of times. I've been I've been proven wrong with a lot of different shows that ended up being really great and that I've ended up really loving. But there's also been plenty of shows, and this goes for movies and games and stuff as well, that I just could not get into for the life of me. That just, despite how popular they end up being, I just am not a fan. Shows like Evangelion or Code Geass, or so on and so forth. Shows that are exceptionally popular, but they're just not for me. They're not my kind of thing. Whether it's not being able to connect with the characters, not being able to get invested in the story, or so on and so forth. Various things like that usually hurt my overall interest in the show. Sometimes I just don't like anything about it. Sometimes it's as simple as just like, oh, I don't like these characters at all. I don't like how they're written. I don't like them as characters. I don't like the story. I think this is bad. Sometimes it's really that simple. But sometimes it comes down to something a little more subtle, like, oh, I'm just not clicking with it. I can't fully explain it. I'm not saying it's bad altogether. It's just something about it just isn't working for me. And I preface all of this to make the point of saying that this is not one of those series. This is not one where I have to like figure out why it is that I don't like it. Because I do like it a lot. This first episode was great. It set up this world, the rules that this is operating by, the characters, the threat level, all of this is set up excellently. It does a genuinely great job at expressing how dangerous this kind of work is. It gives us likable characters. And it's interesting. Because I think I've seen, I think there was another show, I think it was actually called Gate, where it's like these gates opened up over like over like the modern world, and like fantasy creatures had to come through, and it was like fantasy versus modern technology and stuff like that. I think I think there was another series like that. So the concept is not entirely new to me, but the way it's done is interesting too, because there's this entire guild system set up to, you know, train um warriors basically to enter these dungeons, fight these monsters, and, you know, gain these crystals in order to, you know, get money. It's a job. It's a legitimate job. There is like actual like hiring companies basically um, that will recruit people. We literally see that in this episode. But it's also excessively dangerous because you're literally putting your lives on the line. And we see by the end of this, people are very gruesomely dying. And I'm glad that they don't like shy away from that. Like we see this one dude get like a diagonal top half of his body sliced off. We see another person get incinerated in the flames to the point where it's like you see their flesh and everything burning off to the point where their bones become visible. It's like, Jesus. It's not holding back on the gruesomeness, and I really appreciate that. Because it really sells how scary this situation is. I like the ranking system for all of this as well. The one question I have, though, is why aren't they just like bringing guns and shit into these dungeons? Like this is the modern world. Why don't they just bring guns and shit in? Do they just not work on these creatures? Because if so, that's pretty wild. If you absolutely are required to use magic or magic weapons to fight these guys, and that like scientific weapons and stuff like guns just do not affect them at all, that's pretty wild. And that makes things like that also kind of goes with the entire guild system that they have set up, and it makes finding these crystals much more important because they're what's used to create these weapons. So it's pretty interesting in that regard. Now, we also see that beyond just the hunters themselves being ranked, the dungeons are too, which makes sense. Like, oh, this dungeon is ranked D. That means, like, D and above hunters should be able to handle it with not too much trouble. A rank E hunter would have a little bit of trouble, though, because, they're bottom rank and this dungeon's just a little bit above them. But, like, an S rank, unless you're S rank yourself, you're going to struggle. And it's like, it's very video game rules. It's very much video game rules. And that's very interesting. I wonder if, like, within the lore, they set that up that way on purpose. Like, if it was, like, if it's like, oh, this is very, very much like a video game with these dungeons and these monsters and all. So let's rank this like they would in a video game. I wonder if that was genuinely, like, the concept in terms of in lore, how they chose to do that. Because that'd be really funny. Now, the title implies that the character can get stronger. But the series tells us that once they unlock their magical abilities, they're stuck at that level. They don't grow. Their abilities can't be, like, trained. It's just that's what they are. If they're a C rank, they're a C rank for life. But that kind of goes against what the title of this series is. And I think it's pretty clear that our main character, Jinwoo, I think it was, it's pretty clear that he's going to get stronger. Like, how is that going to happen, though? Is he going to find out some way to level up that, no one else has just been able to discover in all these years? It's been like 3 years, I think it said. Well, no. It's been more than 3 years, right? Because it said 3 years ago, that part at the beginning, was when we saw that other group fighting the ants. But they were already prepared for it at that point, right? They already had the guilds already set up. They had armor and weapons. So this had already been going on for more than 3 years. I wonder exactly how long. But either way, the point is this has been going on for a long time now. For years and years. So the question is, no one has figured out how to level up in all that time, and again, we assume Jinwoo's going to. Now, I also mentioned I believe that everyone in there is going to die except him, and I think Joo-hee dying would be a major catalyst for him learning how to level up and become stronger. I don't want it to happen. I want to make that clear. I think she's adorable and super sweet and cute, and I don't want her to die. But I think that from a story perspective, it just seems like the right move. It just seems like that's what's going to happen. I will be very surprised if she survives this. I will be very surprised. Not disappointed, just surprised. We also get motivations for these different characters. Like, there's the one guy who is, whose wife is pregnant. He's trying to get money to, take care of his wife and child. You have our main character who, his father went missing, and he's trying to get money to take care of his mom, who's in the hospital, I believe it said. It's like all, like, realistic, believable goals. These people are just like, even if they're just trying to gain money, it's like that's just realistic. Like, people need money. We unfortunately live in a society, no matter pretty much almost anywhere you live in the world, where money is just a requirement for life. You need to have money to be able to survive. It's, fucking awful, but that's just how it is. I'm very interested to see how much further this series goes in terms of its blood and gore. I'm very interested to see what more they do in terms of these dungeons. Because this seems very, very standard video game dungeon. Even like the double dungeon kind of thing, it's like I've seen that before. I've seen that kind of thing before, where there's like a secret room that you might not have realized. Um, I want to see just more kinds of like creativity and darkness and all of that kind of stuff that they can integrate into this series. Now, I believe this season is 12 episodes, at least for now. Um, I mean, that's not what it's at, it's still going, but I believe it's set for 12 episodes for this season. I don't know if it's already going to be greenlit for another or if they're waiting on that still, but I feel like there's going to be more to the story. Now, I don't know if the original source material is still going or not, but I feel like there's probably more to this if it's as popular as it is. Though, I mean, I guess a shorter series can get really popular too. But only enough for a single 12 episode season seems like pretty damn short. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, this is definitely something I'm going to check out again in the future. I'm going to continue reacting to it specifically in the future. And this is one that I might want to get back to sooner rather than later. Because I really did enjoy this. I might bump it up closer to the top of my list. Uh, but yeah, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this first episode of Solo Leveling? And as always, no spoilers for the future. I wish to continue going in as blind as possible. So yeah, just no spoilers across the board, whether for the source material or for the continued anime. But all that being said, once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And at least for this portion of the afterthoughts for Solo Leveling, yeah, this is it. um, Thank you so much for tuning in. There are other portions if you want to check out the Ishura and the Metallic Rouge ones. But for this one, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the rest. And we are back, and we'll begin with the Ishura portion of these afterthoughts in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I'm just gonna not even wait to say this. I'm just gonna say this right off the bat. I'm not continuing this. At least, not in terms of reactions. I might continue to watch it on my own, or maybe if I can find someone else's reactions to it, maybe. But this upset me. Like, I feel like it's almost rare to find a series that actually just bothers me. And it's not that the episode was bad necessarily. It's I don't even like fully know what the like plot is going to be going forward. But I I'm upset watching this. Like this feels like one of those series. Again, I don't know what the plot's going to be. I don't know how it's going to go going forward, but based on this first episode, it feels like one of those series that is trying to be overly gruesome and gory and upsetting for the sake of being so. Like it's going to have a plot, but the plot is going to go around to serve that and is, probably going to be very loose in terms of quality. That's how I view this based off the first episode. Now, I don't know if that's going to be true. I don't know. I'm just saying that's the vibe the first episode gives me. Because it seems to me like this is all about just making the viewer or or in case of the original source material, the reader, just upset. And I understand, like, the point of this could also be like, oh, shock factor to get you into the series, to get you invested. It's like, that doesn't get me invested. That just makes me upset. That just makes me sad. It's like, I don't want to watch a series like this. It's like, you start off the series, it's like, okay, you started off, it's very nice and happy and everything. Things are going well. It's like these two girls are very clearly forming a relationship. It's super cute. And so it's like, okay, sure, you understand that things are going to have to go wrong. You understand that things are going to progress to a much less happy state. That's fine. Hell, Lucellus getting killed is fine. But the fact that they went out of their way to show her being violently and horrifically dismembered in front of while she screamed in absolute agony is just like, why? What is the point of that? Other than just trying to actively upset us as viewers. What is the fucking point of that? You don't have to show it. I understand the shock factor. I understand what that goes, what shows go for when they do that. I've watched plenty of anime that have that shock factor. But that just felt needless. It felt needlessly cruel and mean-spirited. And again, I want to keep reiterating, I understand that's the point. I understand that it's supposed to feel mean-spirited. It's supposed to be upsetting. It spends this time endearing you to these two's relationship. So when they take it away, it's supposed to upset you. But, like, I just think they took it too far. I just think it goes from just being, shocking and upsetting to the degree they wanted it to, and just being unwatchably so. Like, and then afterwards, you have this guy come in, this guy from our world, presumably, who's just like this ridiculously, unrealistically super powered person who can use this just ridiculously chipped sword to kill anything, apparently. And he just comes in, kills everything with ease, and now Yuno's going to be traveling with him just because she wants to find out who and what he is. And she's, smiling again and shit. I'm sorry, but no. It's like, I don't know what the intent with this Sojiro character was, but I despise him. I mean, just not just because of the idea, like, oh, if he had come just a little sooner, he could have, like, saved the day before, everybody fucking died. No, it's not even that. It's just, he comes in here cocky as all get out, kills these things with the greatest of ease, and then acts like it's no big deal. He actively, like, makes light of Yuno's tragedy here. And is just, honestly, kind of a miserable piece of shit. Like, he's completely unlikable. And then, like, Yuno smiles again when agreeing to go with him and everything, and, like, when she introduces herself to him. It's like, I'm sorry, no, this girl would not be fucking smiling about it. Like, even if she wants to keep up a ruse or something to try and, like, not let him on to the fact that she's trying to figure him out. Like, I don't, one, think that's really the idea exactly. Two, I just, I don't think she would be able to smile again at this point. Like, literally, the love of her life was torn apart in front of her. It feels fucking uncomfortable. And it also feels like they're trying to, like, maybe build up a possible future, like, romance or friendship between these two. One of the two, at least. And I'm like, fuck that. Honestly, based on everything, she should hate his guts. She has no reason to like him. And every reason to hate him, even if it's not necessarily his fault. Like, with Lucellis dying, should not be, like, smiling at him at all. I just didn't enjoy this. I think that's the big thing it comes down to. Like, it wasn't fun, it wasn't entertaining, it wasn't like, oh, this is so shocking and intense that I have to see what happens next. No. It just, again, it just feels like it's trying to be intentionally, like, depressing and fucked up. And we're just supposed to accept that? Like, again, I expected Lucellis to die. I could see that it was going into that direction. It felt like it was like, oh, we're having so much peace, everything's good, the Demon King's defeated. Um, I, these two girls are getting super close. It's like, yeah, it was clear that Lucellis was going to die. But again, the way it was done just felt so mean-spirited, so cruel, that I can't get behind it. Honestly, it kind of pisses me off. I went back between the reaction and recording these afterthoughts and watched that scene again, and it was so actively infuriating. Not because she died, but because of the way it was presented. You know what it kind of reminds me of? I think this series is called Blood C. I know there's also a Blood Plus, so I get those two confused sometimes. I think it's Blood C, though. Uh, the series where there's the girl who fights, like, the demon creatures, and there's, like, at the end of the series, there's the rabbits who, like, will grind people down in their bags. The giant demon rabbits and everything, and all these monsters, and there's just this, like, set of scenes, these elongated set of scenes that are just these demons violently and horrifically murdering people, just a shit ton of people, including characters we've seen before. Like, there's this giant chimera monster that, like, takes these like, teenage girls who were, terrible people, mind you, but, like, smacks one into the ground multiple times until she's dead because of it, and then takes the other and splits her down the middle from her legs. It's like, it feels like that series where it's just like cruelly gruesome for the sake of being cruelly gruesome, where it feels mean-spirited. But the difference is that series didn't do it right off the bat. It built up to that and made that be like the climax of the series. That at least feels like it was more earned. Like, it's like, oh, we worked up to that point. To where this doesn't just come out of nowhere and feel, like, needlessly cruel. This first episode didn't do that. Like, let me see here. Let me see here. I'm going to mute this just in case, but, like, it's like 5 minutes into this video, not even 5 minutes, Shit starts going down like 4 minutes into this video. And it's like about the 5 minute mark just before that we see Lucella start being ripped apart. Like 4 or 5 minutes into this, and it doesn't give us enough time. I think that's the biggest issue. I feel it would have been better and felt less cruel if the entire first episode had been building up Yuno and Lucellus, and the very end of the episode had this all go to shit, and we see Lucellus's death at that point. That would have felt more earned. It would have felt like, oh, we had a lot more time to care about these two characters. We had a lot more time to really, like, see how they interact. So the death means more as well at that point. It just didn't work, in my opinion. It didn't work for me. And it just made me feel bad, which is not really the kind of vibe I want from a series, for the most part. There are exceptions, but for the most part, I don't want a series to just make me feel bad like that. So, yeah, like I said, we're not continuing this one. I might watch it on my own time, or try to maybe watch more on my own time. I don't know. But it's just one of those things that is very clearly not for me. It's just too upsetting in the wrong way. So that's gonna be it for the afterthoughts on Ishura. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know down below what you thought of this first episode. And for now, thank you all so much for tuning in. There are afterthoughts and reactions for the other shows in this First Impressions Showdown. So check those out as well if you are willing. But for now, thank you once again so much for tuning in. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the other reactions in today's Showdown. And we are back, and we'll begin with the afterthoughts, specifically the portion for Metallic Rouge, in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I looked up a couple things just to get some clarification. I didn't look up any spoilers or anything. I just looked up, like, the basic premise and the character info and whatnot, and synopsis on the episode. Just to clarify things. So, for this clarification, Sarah was a member of the Immortal Nine. And this group of, they're basically androids, were rebellious towards the government, and that's why they're being hunted down. Rouge is working with Naomi. Naomi's like part of the government, and they're working together to take down these Immortal Nine. For basically, it seems like safety purposes, because they're dangerous. But this episode also shows that, at least in terms of Sarah, or Viola, whichever name you want to go by, she just wanted to live her life as a singer. She wanted to find happiness and leave behind her past as, you know, this dangerous android. Or neon, as they're called. She wanted to leave that behind and become someone new. She was pretending to be human in order to be this famous singer and everything. And it just basically didn't work out in the end for her. But her, like, screaming out at Rouge during their battle, it's like, why can't I just find happiness? What makes us so different from humans? Have you ever heard of a game called Detroit Become Human? If you haven't, check it out. Whether you see it through a Let's Play or play it on your own, I would definitely suggest it. Because, for those who don't know, Detroit Become Human is my favorite video game. And while I've never personally played it, I experienced the story and everything through Let's Plays and all. And I know what choices I would have made in it, so I know where my route would have led anyway. But anyway, the point is, Detroit Become Human is about androids who are coming to realize that they're not so different from humans and want the freedom to be themselves in a world that is very much seeing them as tools for humans to use. It's a very powerful and impactful game and deals with a lot of questions of what makes someone human, as well as just a lot of social commentary on things like on comparisons you could make towards things like racism and whatnot. It's very powerful and amazingly written. And like I said, it's my favorite game of all time. This reminds me of that in the best possible way. Sarah's questioning of why can't she just live a happy life and everything reminds me of the Tracy androids at the nightclub in Detroit Become Human. The even the main character, Rouge, kind of reminds me of Connor, my favorite character from Detroit Become Human, who is a police android working to, stop the androids from becoming human, basically. And that seems to be kind of what Rouge is doing, except the goal is more to stop these specific androids, which apparently there's already 3 of them that they've taken care of now, including Sarah. There were 2 before as well. If this goes down that same route with Rouge realizing she's in the wrong doing all of this and starts to regret her actions or even fight against them, like, that is the best possible outcome for this series for me, and I would be so hyped for it. Obviously, do not tell me. No spoilers, but that is what I hope for the future of this. I don't know what this is based off of, if it's based off of manga, a light novel, whatever have you. I don't know, and I don't know how long this series is going to end up being. This is Studio Bones, though, and that's always a good sign. Studio Bones are pretty damn great. I'm very interested in continuing this. If for no other reason than the comparisons I can make to Detroit Become Human. I'm very interested in continuing this. It just seems like kind of right up my alley. The questions about humanity and everything, it's like that's very much my kind of shit. I'm not super huge into sci-fi, but there are some cases where I really do enjoy it. And Detroit Become Human was one of those big examples, and this seems to be very, very similar. Hell, even the fluid they use, I don't remember what it was called in this, but it kind of reminds me of the Therium in Detroit, which was the blue blood that they used to power their biocomponents. It's very reminiscent of that. There's so many things I could make comparisons to. Now, as for the characters, so we have 4 main characters in this episode. Not Naomi. Sarah is obviously dead now. But for the other main characters, we obviously have Rouge, Naomi, and then there's this other guy who I didn't quite capture the name of. Let me see if I can find that real quick. It was a little different than everyone else's, who have like very simple Americanized names that I can understand. Da, 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 da. Hold on. Give me just a second here to try and find it. I'm looking at the episode synopsis again, because that should tell me. Oh, Jesus. Herman Hayward? Was that it? Let me just make sure. No, Jaren. Jaren is the name. Okay. Okay. So Jaren, who is the kind of crazy guy, um, he's very fun, and the voice actor is doing an amazing job at this kind of like insane type character. The interesting thing is he seemed to like care about Sarah, but at the same time just kind of abandoned her at the end to die. So unclear how much he actually cared about her. Naomi is probably my favorite character so far. One, she can pack it away. Like, girl can eat. I don't know if she's an android as well. I don't know. It's kind of unclear at this moment. Though I kind of assume she is, just because of communicating through the bird. But that, I guess, doesn't technically mean anything. But yeah, not only can she pack it away, but she has a fun personality. She's super fucking pretty. And she just seems like the most interesting character to me so far. Like, I feel like there's a lot more to her character that we're going to discover as we go along. Rouge is a very nice, very friendly character for our main character. But we also see kind of a coldness at the end. Like, she very clearly isn't moved or hurt by Sarah's death, despite the fact that the two got along pretty damn well. So I think that she's going to evolve and grow as a character as the series progresses. I'm I'm pretty invested in this. I might not I might not have every detail down because that's just me, honestly. But I am pretty damn invested, and I am very excited to see more. We will be reacting to this, and like I said in the afterthoughts for God, my mind is blanking. Okay, I have a way to look it up. Why not just look it up? For solo leveling, I might want to continue it sooner rather than later. This is one that I am very interested in. So, yeah, but I'll talk more about that in the final afterthoughts, my final thoughts on everything. Um, so yeah, we'll leave that there for now. Tell me in the comments below, though, what did you think of this first episode of Metallic Rouge? And yeah, I'm Connie, and I hope you enjoy all of the ones today that you watched. So let's go to the final afterthoughts now. Okay, and time for the final afterthoughts, just to go over quickly everything we went through and to end this out. So, yeah, 2 out of 3 is not bad. We've had, like, I think 2 of these showdowns where we've actually had a full card of things I wanted to get to again in the future. But this time it's just two of them. And I'm very excited to get to both. And like I said, I want to get to them probably sooner rather than later. So they're going to probably be moved up to a higher spot on my list. Because both of these very much interest me, like strongly. And while one of them didn't, it just wasn't my thing and honestly just bothered me a bit. It's still I wouldn't call it bad. It just wasn't for me. But that's bound to happen with these first impressions showdowns. I mean, not everything is necessarily going to work for me. But I still enjoy doing these three nonetheless. Funny enough, the three of these solo leveling, Ishura, and then Metallic Rouge, while three quite different types of series, it felt weirdly right to do the three of them together. Like, after having finished all of them, it just feels like, yeah, these three should have been done together. I don't know why, I can't explain the reasoning for that, but it just feels right. um, but I had a good time with this. Since there was no One Piece episode released this past weekend, I needed something to react to anyways, besides just the movie today, which is coming out, which is being uploaded on Saturday, but still, you know. I needed something else to react to, and this felt like a good idea, and it ended up being a good idea, even if not every show was, you know, my thing. So, like I said in the afterthoughts portions for each separate one, just let me know your comments, your thoughts down below. I would love to hear what you thought of each of these three different series. What was your favorite, and what was your least favorite of the three? Let me know. I would love to find out. And for now, I thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any other thoughts, questions, or anything else you want to leave down below, feel free. But for now, yeah, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.